Los Angeles is booming. Money is pouring in and buildings are going up. But someone is killing architects. So it is in Jeffrey Fleischman's third novel, My Detective. Jeffrey, who's an LA Times reporter, takes us inside the pages of his story. Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And this is a very big departure from your previous books. Promised Virgins in 2009 was based on your time as a war correspondent in Kosovo.
Right.
Shadow Man was more time as a foreign correspondent. This is, I can guess, is not about you. It's about a female serial killer. So that's not personal experience.
Right. It's a complete break from my last two books, and I wanted to try to get into something different. I wanted to explore another avenue, and I've always wanted to try my hand at the crime fiction noir genre. And moving back from LA after being overseas, I thought, what a great time to do it. I was moving to a city I'd never lived in before. It came with all its mythologies and exoticisms, but I wanted to see it in my own context. So I said, well, let's move downtown. And just as I was moving downtown, this quote-unquote renaissance began happening. I mean, buildings, all the stuff that's in the book happened right around my 4 or 5 block square area. So I thought, wow, let's unleash a killer in this and see what happens.
So My Detective, what's it about?
It's about an architect, a woman architect, who has been wronged in her life, and she is seeking vengeance. And through that vengeance, she comes across a detective who she thinks, in her delusion, will be somebody who can understand and love her. So the book is told in both of their voices in alternating chapters.
You took us on a walking tour of some of the settings in downtown from the book. Let's take a look.
We're in front of the Bradbury building right now, which features prominently in my novel, My Detective. The killer in the book, Dylan Cross, is an architect, and as she contemplates her next murder, she also thinks about the architecture of Los Angeles, and one of her favorite buildings is the Bradbury building, mainly because of its great open light in its ceiling and its wrought iron staircase. It reminds her of an old European train station. I'm at the Grand Central Market, where my detective, Sam Carver, comes every so often with his partner, Manuel Ortiz, to talk about the changing Los Angeles. I'm in front of the Clark Hotel, where one of the characters in my novel, Esmeralda, a homeless woman, sleeps in downtown Los Angeles. I'm sitting in front of the old Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where the killer in my book passes every day. I'm in front of Disney Hall. Most people think from this vantage point it looks like a ship in full sail, but to my killer, Dylan Cross, it resembles a face painted by Picasso of sliced silver. I'm on Carroll Avenue, where Dylan Cross lives in an old Victorian home. It reminds her of the history of Los Angeles, but also gives her a place to gaze onto a new skyline. These locations are settings in my novel, which explores the architecture of Los Angeles and the vengeance of a killer.
In the telling of the story, you let the two main characters alternate chapter by chapter. Why do it that way? I
think I wanted it to be very much a character-driven. I wanted the reader to get inside the minds of these two people. One a killer who's seeking vengeance and wondering if there's redemption after that, which is sort of one of the ultimate questions. Can you find redemption? And then the other was a detective with his own problems trying to sort through it all.
You've said in past interviews that, your instincts as a reporter are to find the facts and stick with the facts, but now you're trying to find truth in fiction. What's that mean?
That is at once very liberating and very scary sometimes, because you, as a reporter, you use those tools, as you know, to get and you gather, and then you say, okay, here it is. In fiction, you use those same tools, but you say, you know what, here it is, and here it is, and here it is, and I can go anywhere I want with it. So the truth doesn't become, it becomes elastic in a very liberating way. I really enjoy that part of fiction writing.
A lot of responsibility, though, too.
Right, and I think what a lot of people don't know, and since I live in both worlds, is that when you creating a fiction world, the world still has to live up to its own ethos and its own creation. So within the fiction world, you can't deviate. In your novel, you can't deviate, and all of a sudden a character who's doing this just does this out of character. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work. So that's been fun.
Speaking of fiction, you love bookstores. You just recently wrote about a favorite one, right?
Right. Right.
What is it about the loss of our bookstores that you think is such a tragedy for our communities?
Yeah, the Sam Johnson's bookstore in Mar Vista was just this wonderful, eclectic place of great characters, of voices, of whispers and aisles, and it's like people coming together with this sense of community, talking about what happened during the day. Did you see this book? Did you read this? What about this author? And it's this change and communion of ideas that you don't have so much on a personal touch scale anymore. You have them through our selfies or through our cell phones, but there's some bit of humanity lacking in it, I think. And when a bookstore like this goes, you really sort of sense that the loss, that loss of the human touch to literature in this case. And so.
You're lucky that you live downtown because you've got the Last Bookstore down there, which is full of books and ephemera, right?
Right, yeah. The Last Bookstore is like the go-to stop for everyone who comes down. You see, like, they hit all the spots in downtown and they go to the Last Bookstore. Yeah.
So now that this is finished, I have to ask, are you going to try to sell it as a movie? Because it's been a long time since Curtis Hanson's L.A. Confidential.
Yeah, well, from your lips to a producer's ears, and maybe so. But yeah, I tried to write it as cinematically as I could.
Well, we're all looking forward to reading it, and thanks so much for coming in,
Thank
Jeffrey.
you.
My Detective can be found anywhere books are sold, and Jeffrey Fleischman can also be read regularly in the LA Times. He covers film, art, and culture. Coming up, he is a legend in the NBA, and 80-year-old Jerry West has big plans for the next year. Details when Chris Leary sits down with Page 2 columnist Arash Markazi next.
And not only was he an amazing player, but an amazing GM.
LA Times Today will continue right after this.